not just seeing how we can promote policy development.
The government took a host of measures to widen the political space.
Our engagement began before the independence, and since then we are just building our relations and enhancing them in many, many fields.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to the broadcast. You're watching Morning Express. It's the 14th day of April. Well, good morning from wherever you're watching us from. Of course, a lot has happened just yesterday in this season of photo ops and closed-door meetings within the political circle. We bring you the latest, even as we've just highlighted the front page of The Standard, which highlights the quote-unquote Game of Thrones. We'll delve deeper into that much later during the broadcast, so do stay with us for that and much more, even as we get to interrogate the state of the economy today. It is the 14th day of the month, meaning EPRA will actually be reviewing the prices, and they're set to go even higher, making the petrol prices hit a historic high today. We evaluate what this means in terms of the inflation rate in the economy, bearing in mind IMF has just released the stringent measures in terms of the focus for the government in terms of prioritizing projects going forward. We'll delve into that much later on during the broadcast. Let's just start on the international scene, or perhaps with my name. I'm Jesse Rogers. Now onto the international scene right now. We begin with the Daily Monitor as usual, highlighting the latest from the PAL, which is better known as Uganda, even as the government probes Umeme over unauthorized Yaka deductions. You can find more details right there, which the action has actually left consumers with less energy units compared to what is expected based on the approved tariff structure. Let's just scroll down. Living dangerously, the plight of Ntoroko flood-affected families. The latest in terms of the affected locals who have decided to erect temporary houses in water after they were displaced by floods in 2019. Law enforcers say their March salary was not cleared. Sacked SPCs withhold uniforms over salary. Quite unfortunate there, even as Museveni will give final position on Jopadola Iteso conflict. That's according to the minister. Let's cross over to the Citizen, the latest from Tanzania. Russia suspends regular flights to Tanzania and Turkey, where the Russian government on Monday announced the suspension of these flights with effect from April 15th to June 1st due to the status of the coronavirus pandemic. Of course, we continue highlighting this even as the West and Asian countries receive their fair share of tough times due to COVID-19. India definitely hitting world headlines due to the scourge of COVID-19. Egypt seizes Suez megaship demands nearly $1 billion compensation. Just recently, we well know of this particular megaship that blocked the Suez Canal and crippled world trade for nearly a week. So Egypt is definitely pursuing compensation due to the losses accumulated due to that snarl up around the Suez Canal. They did impound that particular ship. Let's see how that plays out, even as Tanzania has completed payment for 3 new planes, says the Prime Minister. And this is a move in terms of stamping its authority in the East African airspace. Of course, Magufuli did tout this particular project, even as Samia Suluhu and her government sort of uncovered the losses being made by the Tanzanian airline. Now, TRA promises action on Mbowe tax allegations, where the Revenue Authority just yesterday said it will look into claims made by the Chadema national chairperson on confiscation and those allegations surrounding it. Over to Rwanda today right now. Let's take a look at what's emanating from our neighbors. Diagram Kagame welcomes change from French leadership. However, 27 years later, some suspects are still on the run and denialism is spreading. Rwandan refugees in Zimbabwe seek resettlement, and they want to be permanently settled or resettled right there. The pandemic has hurt rehabilitation outreach for prison inmates. Definitely the scourge of the pandemic in one way or the other, not just in the main sectors, but as well as the prison sector as well. U.S. police shooting of black man has definitely sparked fresh protest. The latest happening in Minneapolis suburb, Minnesota. We still have protests ongoing, at least according to CNN, crossing over to the East African right now. John Pombe Magufuli, enigmatic builder who reigned on his own parade. Well, he simply loved to build, and build he did from the time he was minister. Well, they've scrolled. Let's continue. U.S. regulators recommend pause in use of Johnson & Johnson vaccine. That's the latest surrounding the J&J vaccine, even as South Africa joins the list in terms of putting a pause in the distribution of this particular vaccine. Interesting, bearing in mind African Union was gearing towards this particular vaccine for the African continent. We'll see how it develops. Over to CNN World News. Deaths outpace births in some Brazilian cities as COVID-19 resurges. Of course, Brazil has definitely been hard hit by the scourge of the COVID-19 pandemic. India also joining that list. Will continue monitoring the state of affairs, even as more details on Ukraine's president who runs for cover on front against Russia, and Berlin police investigate private club over alleged party amid lockdown. That seems to be the latest emanating from the world scene. We'll definitely keep you updated as we continue to monitor the latest developments right there. Now, let's begin with the local dailies. Of course, the Standard and the Daily Nation going big with the photo ops that were just released yesterday, where Raila Odinga, the ODM party leader, was actually visited, a courtesy call, according to them, by the KANU chairperson and Baringo Senator Gideon Moi, as well as businessman Muhoho Kenyatta, who visited him just yesterday as he's recuperating after he just got reprieve from the COVID-19. Of course, this has set political tongues wagging and the possibilities of formation due to the season we are in the political space. Of course, we'll get to evaluate that. The front page of the Standard: Uhuru Raila, new flurry of meetings and power play. A series of caucuses have characterized ODM leader's diary. On Saturday, he met with the president for 6 hours, while just yesterday, he hosted Gideon Moi and Muhoho Kenyatta. Was cooking behind the scenes, even as many might say this is definitely a move to show that the Building Bridges initiative is still on course and obviously questions will arise around the One Kenya Alliance and ODM, who lately have been having a showdown right now with one of the principals meeting with ODM leader. We'll definitely get to interrogate the possibilities around the formations. Even as the Daily Nation went with that on the front page, definitely it's all about tough wars, and development follows report of alliance between the former Prime Minister and Deputy President. We'll get to interrogate that, as well as other stories highlighted. Of course, our Muslim brothers and sisters, we wish them a blessed Ramadan even as they start under this stringent rules due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, we'll interrogate that. And joining us in studio to help us delve deeper into this particular matters, I'm joined by Martins Owino, who's a Member of Parliament for Ndhiwa constituency. Many thanks for your time and good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Well, it's great to see you. The last time we were definitely talking about the possibilities around the political space. Talk to me about this photo op, because right now, in the season of banned political gatherings, these closed-door meetings might definitely tell of the landscape going forth into the 2022 general election. What say you about the possibility of ODM and One Kenya Alliance working together due to this particular picture?
Well, it's very interesting how Kenyans read a lot into things. But remember that Baba is Baba. Whether you disagree in principles, in politics, it is always in the people's heart. Baba was not feeling well, and I think these two gentlemen went to see him. That said, it's also good to see such things happening, because it reflects that we are human beings. When a statesman or an elder is feeling unwell, it is good to go and say Pole and also thank God on behalf of other families. Lastly, you remember Raila has a kind heart and forgives people. And what these two guys have done is just a payback of what he has done always. Remember when the late President Moi was sick, Raila had to go and see him.
Okay.
This is the person who really detained him, tortured him. You know, that kind of character always have a payback. But it's more of a humanitarian visit. We can read politics because we are a political nation. But what I took from this event are on those three things that I've said.
Okay, well, it's funny you're not reading too much politics into this, despite being a politician. Let me bring in another politician into the panel. Bunyasi Sako is joining us via way of Zoom. Rather, he's the Nambale Member of Parliament and definitely a well-known economist. Before we talk about matters economy, talk to us about this particular photo op. We well know that there are no political gatherings as per now due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Question, is it possible that One Kenya Alliance has realized that they cannot go to the elections alone, and maybe this is a move in terms of testing the waters in terms of alliances? What's your take on this?
Thanks, Jesse. First of all, I want to commend the three gentlemen on the front page of the Standard. They are keeping a social distance. They were wearing masks. You can see them holding them in their hands. Very, very significant, because our nature of politics is like a stage play. It doesn't revolve around any underlying philosophy. First and foremost, it is the characters that you see on the stage. It's not so. This is really partly our way of doing things, but also the unfortunate way that Kenya has gotten into. We're always analyzing personalities. The Kenyans, the struggle they have got has very little to do with these personalities. By the time of trying to form government that would provide a forum, a policy forum, a practical forum to lead the rest of the Kenyans, we're analyzing the individuals, and yet we don't know enough truly about the 24/7 aspects of their lives. So I find not just this picture, but our Kenyan style as a whole to be an performance. And that's why I think we have some of the problems we've got. So I myself, I do realize that we're going to be forming alliances, and as you realize, the alliances are going to be the pawns of the game. which one do you put in, which one do you put out? And that is coming. That's definitely coming. And this also is indicating possible sort of tests, conversations that go on to try and play scenarios on the table. So this is not just a social visit, as my colleague has suggested. The social visit is pregnant with the messages.
Okay, well, we'll definitely continue interrogating this. Well, Martin Zowino, you mentioned it might be a social visit, but your party leader, or at least according to his allies, sort of angled that One Kenya Alliance is sort of undermining Raila Odinga in one way or the other, especially within the handshake, bearing in mind there were talks that the president might be inclined to the One Kenya Alliance. Talk to us about this in terms of possibilities in the political space.
Possibilities are always there, but this One Kenya Alliance you always talk about. Last time I was here and I said, who are these people? And I gave an analogy that, all these people, they were under Baba's roof. And I said, when kids want to play in a rain which has no storm, you let them play. And maybe when the storm gathers, they will come home. So what you are talking about, and I like the way Mudavadi put it, this is a conversation they're having out there. But after BBI, then you will see the political alignment and formation. Okay. And that is where Baba will be a centerpin in everything, in all the discussion that will be going on in this country with his brother, Uhuru Kenyatta.
Well, there definitely seems to be clamor around Raila Odinga. A fact that he can't be ignored. It seems to be playing out. Page 5 of the Standard delves deeper into exactly what's cooking behind the scenes. Grab yourself a copy to be adequately informed. Even as it is the holy month of Ramadan, Ramadan Kareem to our Muslim brothers and sisters. But on page 6 of the Daily Nation, they highlight the plight of the Muslim clerics to revise the curfew timelines, where they say that they should be, the timing rather, the start of the night curfew is 8 p.m. in some of the regions, 2 hours earlier than the rest of the country, and they note that perhaps police need to allow the Taraweeh prayers to be extended up to 11 p.m. Even though they highlight it is important to take care of our health, the balance between worship, religion and healthcare is definitely playing the front page right here. Let me bring in Bunyasi Sakwa, your take on this, even as we highlight how important it is for worshippers to take care of their health being even as they perform the prayers at the mosque. What's your take on this particular request on the curfew timelines to be extended at least until 11 p.m. in the counties outside the 5 red-zoned counties?
I think it would be difficult to grant that because in the dark of the night, when you extend it from whatever time to whatever time they want, you're not going to tell who is the Muslim observing Ramadan and who is just somebody else. You're not going to be able to, you'll put a lot of burden on the police to differentiate gatherings. I know sometimes you clearly will see gatherings in a mosque, but maybe gatherings elsewhere of revelers or rather, of men of God coming from their prayers. I think it may be difficult to do that. I thought that from the experience we had last year, and this request was not made last year, that we had now some experience from the point of view of faiths, different faiths, of how to survive under COVID rules while maintaining the fundamental core of the requirements of the faith. So I think that I think the president would be opening a window, and if he just to open a window and will widen the window, so be it. But I think it would be a difficult one to grant as an exception because it will create additional problems of implementation.
Okay, Martin Zowino, your take on this briefly.
Yeah, I wish Kenyans should realize this, that these prevention measures are meant to curtail the transmission of this virus. Okay. And this virus does not really know who is a Muslim and who is a Christian. So all those strategic measures, that are put to curb it are for everyone. And you cannot extend it for a particular person. The reason is, even among them, there could be transmission going on. So that cannot be extended, as far as I know, because I'm a public health person.
Okay.
I would not even advise even to float it for consideration.
Well, the focus is not just on Kenyans themselves, but politicians as well. Your colleague just yesterday was fined 75,000 for flouting COVID-19 rules. I mean, we're urging Kenyans to follow the rules. Why not lead by example? Because it seems they were charged with failure to wear masks in public, illegal gatherings, contravening curfew hours, and consumption of alcohol in a public space, hence violating the curfew order. What's your take on this as a professional healthcare expert, as you mentioned, Owino?
But I'm happy with one thing, that there was no discrimination. If you are a lawmaker, you break the law catches with you. But I would appeal to those who are in the front line for leadership to lead by example. This is not a joke. COVID-19 has never been seen in the public health arena with this kind of severity. So please do as the law says and be an example for many people to follow.
Okay, well, we'll definitely continue highlighting that. Make sure you grab yourself a copy to be adequately informed, especially on the fight against COVID-19. I'd like to shift focus to the search of Chief Justice, day 3 today. Just yesterday, we saw Professor Kameri Mbote actually take the hot seat in terms of facing the JSC panel, reviewing her suitability. Let's just take a look at the story that was prepared just yesterday in terms of the intrigues that sort of stood out as she was put to task over her BBI role, over dispute with colleagues and students in terms of being an academician. Take a look.
After High Court Judge Said Chitembe's Monday date with the Judicial Service Commission, Tuesday was law scholar Professor Patricia Kameri Mbote's turn to defend her suitability for the Chief Justice job.
I have been Dean of the School of Law, University of Nairobi, which is the largest law school in this country, for an aggregate of 5 years.
Asante. But undertones of the President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga-led Building Bridges initiative found its way to the interview panel. Mbote was on November 27, 2019, among keynote speakers at the Bomas of Kenya BBI launch.
Serving as an advisor or running a consultancy with Parliament on the issue of Building Bridges Initiative Amendments Bill. So that is a question that I'm wondering, why is it not in your CV?
By the time I submitted my CV, I was not engaged.
Okay.
So I have been engaged. Actually, I don't even have a contract. So the short answer is, it was not there.
The commissioners sought to know her views on the document's proposal for establishment of an office of the Judicial Ombudsman, which former Chief Justice David Maraga rejected on his final days in office, as yet another attempt to frustrate judicial independence.
We have a process that is ongoing, and should that process see the light of day, then there are going to be implications. So in essence, it is to look at how within the institution can we ensure accountability.
Yet the astute legal scholar faced serious integrity and diligence queries. Among these, a complaint on alleged plagiarism of academic work and a query emanating from the recent Law Society of Kenya elections to pick a male representative to the Judicial Service Commission, in which Professor Tom Ojienda lost to lawyer Macharia Njeru.
You colluded and engaged in underhand activities in a bid to defeat or to frustrate the bid by one of the membership to vie for this position.
I actually volunteered from the senior counsel to join the team from LSK and IEBC working on that. I really had no dog in that fight. I went to do my work. And you know, it has surprised me to hear that I colluded.
Do you know what our management culture has been? And you know what it has contributed to being where we are at today?
I would be lying if I said I know exactly your management culture, because if you're not wearing the shoes, it is difficult to know how the culture works. I can only talk about it as an outsider.
2 down, 8 more candidates to go, with Justice Martha Koome next on the grilling line as the Maraga succession race edges closer to the finish line. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News in Nairobi.
So 2 down, 8 more to go. Judge Chitembwe, on day 1, we had Mbote, the law professor, just yesterday taking the hot seat. Allow me to bring into the conversation Suleiman Bashir, who's a lawyer advocate. Perhaps this is your area of expertise as it plays down before the JSC. Of course, the academic was put to task over her role on the BBI and perhaps her academic breaches or malpractices that were actually raised by her colleagues. Talk to us about how it is playing out. Is this what you pictured in terms of the swift and proper interrogation by the JSC panel?
Jesse, the first thing first, Professor Kameri Mbote, I happen to be one of her products. She was both my Dean School of Law and my lecturer of property law. She does a very smart lecturer, a very competent lady who has actually exuded lots of confidence yesterday when she appeared before the commission. But Jesse, what we need to ask ourselves is, what is it that Kenyans are expecting with respect to the ongoing interviews? Or the kind of product that they expect, the end person who that person should be. Obviously, this is the kind of a person who should meet the first schedule of the Judicial Service Act. The kind of questions that we have seen that those interviewees were subjected to ranged from questions to do with the moral integrity, the professional competence, and how somebody can maybe augur and how somebody can work in between the executive, the parliament and the judiciary, both the 3 levels of the 3 arms of the government. Okay. So I think, Jesse, this is a very important interview in the sense that the country is in pursuit of the 15th Chief Justice. Who knows? Might she be Kameri? Might the person who will be able to succeed Emeritus Maraga be maybe the other male interviewees? So I think ultimately the ball is in the court of the commission, and I think Kenyans should have a lot of confidence in the Judicial Service Commission, because above all, this is an interview that each and every person is able to follow. The kind of questions that are posited to the interviewees is what we all can follow. We can see the kind of response they are giving, and these are very hard-cut questions. I think now that we are remaining with 8 more candidates and the panelists are constituted or comprised of 9 persons or 9 members, I think that is a very strong team that if left to them, we can get the ultimate good Chief Justice. But, Jesse, what I wish to underscore is Kenyans have in mind a certain caliber, a certain type of Chief Justice. Okay. This is the kind of a Chief Justice that will transform the judiciary in the sense that he or she will in future reduce the backlog and protect the interest of Kenyans through enabling easier access to justice, Jesse.
Okay, well, definitely the symbiosis between these 3 arms of government is definitely the front focus. Let me bring in Bunyasi Sakwa. Your member of the legislative arm of government definitely plays a key role in terms of financing the judiciary. Bearing in mind the recent uproar between these 3 arms of government, especially with the executive, what say you about the ongoing process, even as we search for the next Chief Justice?
Very interesting, Jesse. I have a couple of perspectives. First, I have zero knowledge of law other than what the layman picks up through life. But my expectation of a Chief Justice, first and foremost, what I think must be a core competency is jurisprudence. Must be somebody who knows the law very well, who understands how it's been applied, how it has moved frontiers or not moved frontiers. That's the core mandate, in my competence rather, in my view. I recognize, though, that the mandate is broader than that core mandate. And the mandate will include ability to lead and lead well. Mandate will include an understanding of the interface between the law and society. And I think that in doing these interviews, the honorable ladies and gentlemen in the panel are probably looking at these aspects and more. And therefore, what we see on TV is, for many millions of Kenyans, just entertainment. How somebody seems to answer a question, but perhaps not always comparing it against what the core competencies and what the managerial and other experience ought to be. I think it's a good process. What I think is missing is, well, we must get a lesson we learned from the list of judges, appeal court judges that went to the presidency and were not approved. I would hope that before the Judicial Service Commission proceeded with any of the candidates, they had a security brief on all of them. But I can guarantee you that's not likely to be the case. We have vetted people in Parliament where the vetting agencies, or rather the clear security agencies, including ESCC and so on, normally say, we have nothing to report on this person. Even cases where people know that there are cases they would have reported. They just withhold information. So I really think that, and I don't believe in the case of the judges, that they only discovered after they reached the presidency. I think that Judicial Service Commission ought to be briefed, even if it's in private, intensely, so the candidates are left out if they have obvious blots, or those become part of the questions inside the interview panel. But all in all, given where we are in Kenya, I think that this is an open process. I do not know if the best candidate was shortlisted in there. I don't have a good feel, but if that is the case, then we are likely to be able to end up with one or another that probably would make our Chief Justice. After all, it's only 4 years, and then we can move on to somebody else.
Okay, well, we'll get to interrogate that. Martin Zowino, allow us to take a short break right now. We'll be back with your take on the ongoing process, even as we expect the Judge Kome actually to take the hot seat today. We'll be back with more on the press review. Do stay with us.
This is KTN News. Introducing Ushindi Cream Bar Soap. It foams well, is gentle on skin and hands, and cleans your clothes and dishes well too. Available in 1 kg and 800 gram bars and 175 gram tablets. Also available in all your favorite variants. Ushindi, a quality product from Pwani Oil Products Limited.
Always be my baby. That's why I trust Dettol to clean, protect, and keep you refreshed every day. I still can't believe how quickly you've grown. Dettol, tested effective against COVID-19.
Introducing Ushindi Cream Bar Soap. It foams well, is gentle on skin and hands, and cleans your clothes and dishes well too. Available in 1 kg and 800 gram bars and 175 gram tablets. Also available in all your favorite variants. Ushindi, a quality product from Pwani Oil Products Limited. Broadcasting Awards 2021 is here. KTN News has been selected as the People's Choice TV station, and we need your help to bring the award home. To vote for KTN News as your favorite broadcaster in the People's Choice Award category, SMS the word KUZA to 15601 and follow the prompts. Voting ends on 23rd April 2021. Voting is absolutely free.
Started my career here in Kenya 27 years ago.
Jomo Kenyatta insisted that the Yugoslav embassy should be the first next-door neighbor next to State House.
We've been looking at not just seeing how we can promote policy development.
The government took a host of measures to widen the political space.
Our engagement began before the independence, and since then we are just building our relations and enhancing them in many, many fields.
Your moment with your stories. made at home for your home. Because great stories start on DSTV.
The ongoing horizontal infrastructure development here at Konza Technopolis is expected to be completed by mid-2022.
There is good progress on the roads.
Konza is now evidence of what happens when all arms of government, when leaders at all levels work together, cooperate.
This is a state-of-the-art city.
We are working well with communities out here.
Progress at Konza Technopolis. This Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on KTN News.
Panadol Extra, now with new Optizorb technology to fight multiple tough pains with 3 times more pain-relieving medicine in the first 30 minutes when you need it most. Seeing them support themselves makes any pain worth it. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Get an aerial decoder at 999 shillings plus 1 month free classic bouquet and satellite dish at 2,699 shillings plus 1 month free smart bouquet.
Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
This is KTN News.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Express. Many thanks for staying with us. We're taking a look at the latest news making headlines on today's dailies. And joining me in studio for press review, via way of Zoom, Bunyasi Sakwe, who's the Member of Parliament for Nambale constituency. In studio, I'm joined by Martin Owino, the Member of Parliament for Ndiwa constituency, as well as Suleiman Bashir, a frequent face right here on the show, lawyer, advocate. I'd like to begin with you, Martin Owino. Your take, quite briefly, on the ongoing interviews around the clamor to find the next Chief Justice. Of course, a lot of highlights in the past 2 days, even as we look forward to the 8 other applicants to this position. What's your take on this?
First of all, I think Kenya is progressing very well. You know, positions like this were handpicked previously by head of state and just put there without going through open process. But having said that, I would like, and I hope, that there could also be a peer review process to know how these people have been functioning in the domain where they were. Questioning answers is good, and I think the panel should get into matters beyond just, you know, if somebody asks you, why did you appear in BBI event, and you want to, you know, tag that as an integrity issue. I mean, that is not, that's very shallow. I want questions that can dig in the stamina, the person who can have a spine, you know, to stand up for the law, for the people. Because this person is going to deal with the executive and the legislators. Okay. The 3 arms, I mean, those 2 arms of the government. And it's not really a theoretical seat. Yes, you can know the law, but you have to stand the pressure so that you can apply that law correctly for the sake of the people.
Okay, so backbone is definitely needed. Let's see how it all plays out, even as the next 8 candidates face the JSC. Suleiman Bashir, he's brought up an interesting point, not just because of the BBI issue, but the angle that the judiciary and the person who takes the helm as Chief Justice should actually protect this arm from exploitation from the executive and the legislative arm of government. So when the questions around BBI came forth, perhaps it was due to the translation that she was political by some quarters. But even as you answer that, there are a couple of senior council lawyers who filed for this position, and they defended members of the executive earlier on. A lot of talk has been rife, especially since the CJ's position will be to determine the strength and independence of the judiciary. Talk to us about this.
You see, Jesse, the kind of questions that the panelists are throwing on the interviewees are quite different. These questions are there to test these interviewees on very different issues. You are supposed to be tested on your grasp of the current day-to-day affairs. You are supposed to be tested on your political understanding of our country and the region at large. You're equally, I think, supposed to understand, most importantly, how your grasp of the law, how you can apply it, because ultimately you will sit at the Supreme Court and lead that court in maybe dispensing justice through administration, through appreciation of the legal facts by way of case law and statutory law. I think, Jesse, that's on one part. So I think on the kind of questions that we are finding the interviewees having to answer, this is making a lot of sense. They can be asked on various issues, and their grasp of those issues are supposed to be up to date. Jesse, again, on the other part, whenever we talk about who is supposed to become the next Chief Justice, it should not be who will protect the judiciary just as such. It is about the interdependence of these three arms of the government. It is about who can lead the judiciary and who can at the same time work with the executive and parliament. Parliament sets the budget for the judiciary. The executive is the one that equally runs the country. It is the president who is in charge of that arm of the government. So I think these are interdependent arms of the government. We need someone who can protect the independence of the judiciary whilst at the same time accommodating the views of the various arms of the government. And Jesse, let me just answer this also. With respect to the outcome of these interviews, it is not that there are no checks on this. The ultimate person who shall be forwarded by the JSC to the president shall be forwarded to the parliament for approval. That is a very important stage whereby parliament can challenge that. Parliament can reject that candidate, and the process again will start afresh. So I think there's a very important check at the level of parliament that will have a very crucial role. On the question of these senior councils who have applied and who might have served various interests before, Jesse, in law, there is something called the cab rank rule. As an advocate of the High Court, you are at all times supposed to represent in courts of law any person who can meet your demands. Okay. If you are maybe a person who requests me to represent him or her, that may not bar me from contesting for the position of a Chief Justice, participate in interviews, and ultimately becoming the Chief Justice. What we need is a person who can serve that court well. All right. Well, we'll definitely continue highlighting this. Remember, KTN News airs the proceedings live as from around 9 a.m. today morning. We'll expect more interviews to ongo. Let's just shift focus right now, and this might touch those with luxury number plates. Of course, motorists are risking hefty fines over fancy number plates. The Transport Authority, NTSA, actually had a crackdown at the beginning of this week. 83, that's the number of vehicles that were impounded on Monday, flouting traffic rules in terms of the illegal plates as well, even as police launched a crackdown on this. Bunyasi Sako, I'll start with you. I mean, it's wrong, definitely, to take advantage in terms of illegal production of number plates, but this points to the loopholes in terms of creating a centralized system for registration of vehicles. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think first it shows probably the weak side, the laxity in the part of the ministry. They must have ways in which they monitor how many places are out there and how they can identify them when they see them on the road. But people can have special plates, of course, that read their grandmother's names or the mountain they love or something. That happens everywhere. But you register those kinds of things and you pay hefty, and the number becomes unique. But in respect of the common numbers on vehicles, to have them be fake, to have them be numbers manufactured in the back streets is extremely unfortunate. And I think given how we recognize vehicles using the number plates, that obviously means that we're not doing the right thing. We hear too often, just about how crooks can go change numbers run with one number to some corner, do something bad, and go change the number, they're back on the road. There must be ways in which our identifications go beyond just what you see on the number plate. But there must be ways that the police can easily point out. But our police are stationary at road junctions and so on. And TSA is the flying squad, but it's also quite limited in its scope. They must rejig. They must look for ways in which they can vigilant on this, because otherwise we're going to get a lot of problems. Already we have a lot on the highways.
Okay, well, definitely bearing in mind there was talk of new generation number plates whose rollout has been held back by the courts as contractors seek to control the lucrative tenders. Heshimiwa, your take on this as we finalize on this particular matter?
Yeah, it's very interesting. How can this happen? That is the question, first of all, because we have a registry and we have registration and database of what people have out there. I believe the effort is welcome, but one-time sweep does not really enforce law to entirety. What the government should do is to zero into database how these things are registered and daily monitoring. So if you make your own plate, it should be caught the next day, not wait for 1 year to put a roadblock in order to get you. Secondly, I want also to say that those who are enforcing this law should be very, especially the leadership of this effort should be very, very vigilant, because the police force always take advantage. Even innocent people would be, frustrated, and all these braveries will come into this. So yeah, the effort is acceptable, but let us have a continuous process of law enforcement.
Okay, let's cross over to health matters right now. And I'll start with you, Suleiman Bashir. Despite being a lawyer, I mean, Kenya has sort of revised its COVID-19 vaccination plan, and we're targeting an extra 10 million people to be vaccinated against the disease by June next year. Of course, this comes in the backdrop of various developments, one of them being the J&J, Johnson & Johnson vaccine, actually getting a pause, not just in the United States, but in South Africa as well, due to fears arising around blood clots. What's your take on this? Even as India is recording a high number of cases in the country, which is definitely affecting the number of vaccines that are being rolled out to low-income countries, including Kenya. What's your take on this?
Jesse, clearly, one of the major ways that will give us the hope that our economy will be reopened is if a good number, around 80–70% of Kenyans are vaccinated. If that is the case, that is how I think we can have the confidence of properly reopening our economy. Right now, Kenyans were initially in apprehension of what this vaccine will do. When we now come across stories of blood clot, maybe with respect to various instances as a result of the Johnson & Johnson, that vaccine, I think this now will inculcate fear in the people of Kenya. This might make the people come up with reasons to avoid the vaccination. But Jesse, now, there are two things here. Do we have other options? What options do we have as a people of this country? There is a very important issue whereby the government of the day should ensure that the kind of vaccines that find themselves in our markets are the ones that have gone through the proper regulations and are fit for the people to be vaccinated on. If that is not the case, any other vaccines will end up inducing fear in the people of Kenya, and the people might run away from the vaccination program. Let the government, through the WHO, ensure that the kind of vaccines that find themselves in our markets are the ones that meet the test of the day, the test of health. If that is the case, and a good number of Kenyans get vaccinated, that is how we shall end up having our economy reopened. These kind of cases whereby we are having that various instances have been recorded within South Africa and the USA, and that has called for the postponement of or stoppage of the use of that vaccine, that is what we equally need to appreciate and stop it. Let the government use only those vaccines that have been properly approved by the WHO. Okay. That is how the government can show us that it is indeed interested and keen on protecting our interests and lives.
Speaking of protecting interest and lives, Martin Zawino, the Russia's Sputnik V vaccine is set to be shipped out due to that particular ban by the Poisons Board and Poisons Pharmacy Board. What's your take on that? But even as you comment, I mean, public facilities have definitely shown the oxygen issue in the country, or lack thereof. Perhaps your comment, or even as we combat the COVID-19 pandemic.
I'm happy they are collecting those Sputnik vaccine and re-export them to where they came from, because first of all, the gateway towards global vaccine, especially for Africa as well, is WHO. Any vaccine which is not approved by WHO should not have even landed into this country. And as a health committee where I belong, we are still investigating how was this approved for emergency use. But we demand, even if they are being re-exported, how much were given here and how much is being returned. We want transparency of this because it's people's lives. We don't really want to have games in people's lives. Now, the other thing which I can talk about is oxygen. Oxygen is the treatment of choice for this virus and many other diseases. For elective surgeries and all that, we use oxygen a lot. And as a country, we are not prepared. We did advise earlier that, and we allocated even money for UHC, that all our lower health facilities should be equipped, even with simple oxygen generating machines, so that they can supplement oxygen at those levels. If that was done, then the progression of disease would not have been taking place to warrant ICUs and all this.
Okay.
Each hospital, advisably, should have a plant to generate oxygen. Because without oxygen and you have COVID, that is why you see the death toll are rising, because some will need that immediate care of oxygenation through those machines, but they don't get it.
Okay.
So yes, we have a problem, and I hope the money that we are going to allocate again will address this so that we don't have shortage of oxygen. There's another topic I hope we'll talk about, ARVs as well.
Well, we'll definitely delve deeper into that. But just a point of clarification, 228 doses have since been administered of the Russia Sputnik V vaccine out of the 75,000 that were imported into the country on March 22nd. But Bunyasi, as we conclude on this matter, there's been clamor around Africa actually pushing for its own vaccine in the wake of a local supply shortage or globally due to the constraints of COVID-19. Your comment on that, even as Kenya is expected to run out of the vaccines in 10 days' time. I mean, we're relying on the COVAX facility and Africa CDC. Perhaps a change of focus. What's your take on this?
Absolutely. First and foremost, let us look at the vaccines as a commodity, which is now a global commodity. The different vaccines. It's a commodity that is being tightly controlled by nations that have economic power. Nations are saying we shan't export until our people are all supplied. And therefore, they can manipulate quantities on the market, not just who pays, but who gets it. That's very unfortunate. That we need to take account of. That's the first point. The second one, our scientists must help us to participate actively in the scientific debate, maybe research, but at least the debate as for what truly is a good vaccine, irrespective of where it comes from. I think that we are mixing up global politics. We being in the US, UK ambit, we don't want to act on anything out of it. The other day, I heard somebody say they would increase the imports of a Johnson & Johnson vaccine. But the Americans are now looking at it and saying, oh, it has also got risks. There we are going to agree, oh yes, it has got risks. We ought ourselves to be, our scientific colleagues ought to take the lead quietly as scientists in guiding us. So those who talk to us publicly about global health and how it relates to Kenya, including around the pandemic, can also be informed on the basis of that scientific knowledge. How maybe the Chinese one is a good vaccine. Maybe the Russian one is a good vaccine. And we should not, I don't know how much of this is source, bias against source, and how much of it is science. And I think that is missing in our discussion. And as a nation, we just can't be turning like the wind vane. We will to some extent, but let us understand A, the commodity aspects and restrictions, and B, let our scientists be at the core. And our scientists not just we think about the professor they had in their universities in the US and UK, but as people who do applied work. Look at the South Africans. They're always at the forefront when it comes to why there's a rejection, why there's a... In fact, the US seems to be copying from South Africa a hell of a lot because they are exercising their scientific knowledge. I am disappointed myself that our scientists have taken a back seat. They're allowing an informed politician like ourselves to take the front seat. without being fully informed, and therefore we cannot formulate policy properly.
Okay, well, focus definitely needs to be reset. We'll get to discuss more about this, even as it's evident that Linda Mama is on the verge of collapse over lack of funds. That seems to be the latest in terms of the healthcare sector, and it's set to affect operations in county hospitals. But make sure you grab yourself a copy of The Standard to be adequately informed. Of course, Kenya's Bold newspaper bringing you up to speed with the latest developments, the Daily Nation and the Business Daily as well. Allow us to take a short break, gentlemen, but coming up after this is the discussion on the state of the economy. Why you could pay more at the fuel pump. That's definitely an intriguing topic, as from midnight APRA will be reviewing that. Not just that, we'll take a look at the latest IMF conditions. Even as Senate met yesterday, we get the latest on the revenue bill, the division revenue bill. This and much more coming your way. Do stay with Morning Express.
This is KTN News.
Sauce Mosmos. The sauce that runs a lot slower.
Recipes with Zesta tomato sauce. In a large saucepan, melt butter and finely chopped onions, garlic and tomato paste and cook for about 5 minutes. Add Zesta tomato sauce and veggie stock and bring to boil. Fry your fish fillet until golden and well cooked through. Add the fish to the tomato sauce, turning the fish a couple of times to coat. Sprinkle with fresh parsley and serve warm. Broadcasting Awards 2021 is here. KTN News has been selected as the People's Choice TV station, and we need your help to bring the award home. To vote for KTN News as your favorite broadcaster in the People's Choice Award category, SMS the word KUZA to 15601 and follow the prompts. Voting ends on 23rd April 2021. Voting is absolutely free.
Started my career here in Kenya 27 years ago.
Jomo Kenyatta insisted that the Yugoslav embassy should be the first next-door neighbor next to State House.
We've been looking at not just seeing how we can promote policy development.
The government took a host of measures to widen the political space.
Our engagement began before the independence, and since then we are just building our relations and enhancing them in many, many fields.
You'll always be my baby. That's why I trust Dettol to clean, protect, and keep you refreshed every day. I still can't believe how quickly you've grown. Dettol, tested effective against COVID-19.
Wholesale buyer of farm produce looking for constant and reliable supply of produce. Introducing Vuna, the wholesale marketplace for fresh produce. A joint project by Standard Group's Farm Kenya in partnership with Agid. With the Vuna Market, you can say goodbye to uncertainties of procuring produce in bulk. Vuna Market connects wholesale buyers to a network of verified farmers working through reliable bulking centers countrywide with the benefit of standard weights, measures, and packaging, as well as transparent pricing for agricultural commodities that can be viewed at www.vuna.co.ke. Download the Vuna app for free today from the Google Play Store to have constant access to a consistent and transparent marketplace at the palm of your hand. And if you are a farmer looking to supply your produce at competitive prices, you can get in touch with the closest bulking center near you by emailing us on farmkenya@standardmedia.co.ke. Farm Kenya, working to secure your growth.
Kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya. The ongoing horizontal infrastructure development here at Konza Technopolis is expected to be completed by mid-2022.
There is good progress on the roads.
Konza is now evidence of what happens when all arms of government, when leaders at all levels work together, cooperate.
This is a state-of-the-art city.
We are working well with communities out here.
Progress at Konza Technopolis. This Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on KTN News.
My name is Rose Mora. I'm the chairperson of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya. Join me this Wednesday on the Trading Bell Show as we discuss the role of accountants in the economy and how they are assisting businesses build resilience and rebound in this tough season. See you then.
This is KTN News.